and the guest pass check-in I wasn't supposed to see. The email arrived like it had swallowed its own apology. Your guest pass was used to check in at HarborWorks, the subject said, as if I kept a collection of guest passes for a building I never visit. Beneath it, a clean corporate sentence. Sasha has arrived. Conference room gull reserved. I was at our sink rinsing basil no plant deserves when the notification bloomed over my lock screen. The logo was a little hexagon that thinks friendliness can be drawn. The timestamp wore a confidence I wasn't ready for. I tapped, not because I wanted to be the man who taps, but because the man who doesn't becomes a story you have to forgive later. HarborWorks is the carking tower on the river where coffee comes with leniency and glass pretends to be gravity. We toured it once when we thought adulthood meant switching to decaf. The app's portal opened into politeness. My name at the top beside a headshot from a year when I believed haircuts could save a marriage. Welcome, Owen, it cheered. Your guest Sasha has checked in. Need directions to conference room gull. I didn't need directions. I needed my kitchen to remember itself. Sasha had texted earlier with our shorthand, studio late, don't wait. She designs projection for rooms that lie to themselves and then hire someone to teach them remorse. I build sound so those rooms stop mumbling. Our work makes us suspicious of surfaces. The basil tasted like scrutiny. I could have called and asked her to audit verbs. I could have dragged a chair into the small room where the ugly lamp lives and let my chest finish inventing its disaster without witnesses. Instead, I put a jacket on, locked the door that sticks if you treat it like a question, and walked the 7 blocks to HarborWorks with hands in pockets as if they would incriminate me if I let them speak. The lobby has learned how to be indulgent without being expensive. Plants with opinions. A receptionist who says your name like a pivot. I didn't ask for anything. I stood near a wall that became a waterfall when you looked long enough and let the building decide whether I mattered. A couple performed urgency toward the elevators. A man practiced being surprised by an email. The app offered that blue dot map all buildings use when they want to make you feel like you're being rescued. This way to gull, it suggested. I did not follow it. I took the stairs and listened to the floor numbers click like a metronome attempting a consent speech. On 5, a glass corridor looked out at the river pretending to be holy. The conference room names stenciled on the doors, Tern, Heron, Gull, took turns being aspirational. Gull's lights were on. Inside, a wall repeated a sunset it had been paid to memorize. Sasha's coat. A portfolio case that has met more tables than my hands would prefer to imagine. No one. I stood with my palm against the glass and felt the faint hum of air deciding what to become. Then I left the way I'd arrived, unimportant, alive. I don't know whether I hoped to find proof or to fail at it. When I got home, the apartment was still warm with the basil's attempt. I set my phone on the counter like a witness I couldn't yet cross-examine. At 8:06, the lock turned. The hall sent its thin, tired yellow under the door like a reporter with a deadline. Sasha stepped in, hair pinned low, face wearing the look she gets when a room tries to hire her as its conscience, and she invoices on time. She saw me. She set her bag on the chair that knows us and didn't perform being surprised. She walked over and put both palms on the counter as if it could steady both of us. You saw it, she said. Conference room gull, I said. Guest pass my name, your arrival. She nodded like she'd planned to be brave and was relieved to get to it. Kitchen or small room, she asked. The small room is our shrine to accuracy. The ugly lamp, the forgiving rug, the list of rules we write on the back of a takeout menu because sacred text should be common paper. Kitchen, I said. Let the basil shame us into telling the truth. She turned the dimmer down one notch, the move she uses when a wall has been too proud. Theo wanted me to see the sequence, she said. HarborWorks bought an installation off me in principle. He thinks light only tells the truth after hours. The pass was his idea because he believes that being official makes you innocent. Her mouth worked once, didn't smile. I asked the receptionist to print it with your name because I was trying to make the room behave. Did it? I asked. No, she said. Rooms love fiction. People love arrest records. We went in. He said the linemen like him keep in their pockets. You look different when you aren't managing. And I kissed him once to stop the rest of the paragraph. It tasted like a biography I refuse. I asked the building to forgive the air. I left. What did you want? I kept my voice clean of superiority. It makes a better bowl that way. To find out if the part of me that confuses permission with appeal is dead, she said. She is. She's small. She can be negotiated with. She doesn't get glass. Do you want him? I said, because we have agreed that the worst question should be asked calmly or we'll never survive it. No, she said. I want an hour where Light likes me for being thoughtless. He is the costume for that hour. You are the hour in here. We stood not touching, the basil louder than either of us. I took the menu we've turned into a constitution and uncapped the pen that lives in the sugar bowl because sweetness needs accountability. Truth before buildings, I wrote. She leaned in, shoulder to shoulder, our faces in the bad lamp's generous yellow. If a pass prints your name, I speak mine in here first, she added under my line. I wrote, if you think you need to kiss someone to learn you don't want them, tell me before your mouth tries to cite a source. She smiled against it without humor and underlined tell twice. Storm or quiet? She asked. The question landed like a bridge with no toll. Quiet, I said, then the kind of weather we mop together. We ate standing up because chairs insist on ceremony. After, she came around and set her mouth under my ear where my day loses language. I left my hands where they have earned the right to remember. Hips, back, that square at the top of her spine that resets bad clocks. She climbed onto the counter with the neat competence of someone for whom gravity is a colleague. We were careful because spectacle is for audiences. We were greedy because yes is a limited resource and marriage is a budget. We stopped before we tried to write a treaty with sweat. We pressed our foreheads together until breath was just breath. In bed, the basil forgave us by still being there. Sasha lay on her side with her face tucked into my chest like the day had turned in its homework. I told HarborWorks to strip your name off my profile, she said into fabric. And I told Theo to schedule daylight only. Also told the install to stop singing when only money is around. In the morning, HarborWorks did the corporate version of penance. We regret the confusion, their email said, and attached a PDF of my own face as if I needed a license to be removed. I pressed delete. Sasha forwarded me Theo's reply to her. Understood. Boardroom only. He CC'd the project manager the way men think paperwork is character. A week of competence followed. We did laundry. I tuned a black box theater that had decided to call itself intimate and required proof. Sasha made a wall blush on cue and then laughed privately when it worked. At 1:13 a.m., when my ribs picked up their ancient rehearsals, she pressed my hand between her shoulder blades and said quiet, and the house obeyed because it has learned. Then the guest pass thing found a new angle. Badge shared with you, the app announced at noon while I was deciding whether more coffee would save or end me. The screen showed a link sent to Theo with my access credentials and a note he'd left on the request. Need Owen's invite for client tour. I stared until my own name looked like a noun we don't use in public. I didn't make speeches. I walked the 7 blocks to HarborWorks again and asked the receptionist to revoke everything that could be revoked. She did with the care of someone used to cleaning up after glamorous people. On my way out, Theo was by the espresso machine practicing humility. We did that polite male nod. The one that says I've learned my line is "good evening," not "we need to talk." He said, to the room as much as to me, "The piece doesn't work when there's nobody honest in it." I said, "Then invite daylight," and left. At home, under the ugly lamp, we added a rule so simple it insulted us until it saved us. If a building needs us after hours, it doesn't. We taped it next to truth before buildings and kissed like punctuation. I would love to pretend devices retire when you demote them. They do not. "A memory for you," my phone sang one morning at 7:02, and the thumbnail was HarborWorks lobby, Sasha in profile, laughing at someone off camera, light on her collarbone in a way the city thinks it can pat. I could have thrown the phone. I didn't. I carried it to the kitchen, put it between us, and let the stupid little stitched video play over tea. She watched herself without flinching. "That's just me at work," she said, and put her hand on my wrist where the watch thinks it owns the pulse. Work found a rhythm that felt like mercy. We learned to be boring excellently. Sasha started labeling her private jokes in a way the phone could not misinterpret. Once, a dry cleaner called to confirm 2 dresses, one absolutely not for lobbies. I laughed into the receiver like a person forgiven by a stranger. Of course the city tries again if you pay it compliments. On a Friday that failed to kill us, HarborWorks pinged with a new cheer. "Your guest has arrived," it said, and attached a name I hadn't met, Eliza. I showed Sasha the screen. She rolled her eyes and typed while I watched, "Eliza," with me because she's the only person allowed to bully me into water and out of elevators when my brain decides to perform. No men. No after hours. She sent it to Theo and the building and me, and then, because she is a person who refuses to fail alone, taped a new line to our list. "If panic needs a chaperone, she has better shoes than you." It wasn't all gentle. A month later, the app congratulated me for something I hadn't done. "Your guest hosted an event," it clapped, attaching photos of the lobby in soft gold and a caterer who thinks flowers belong on small foods. Sasha forwarded the email to me with the subject line you use when you're exhausted by nouns, "Bureaucrasilaf GIF." We laughed. Then we did dishes. Then we went to the small room and practiced the thing that keeps us from making enemies of lamps. She climbed into my lap like gravity is trustworthy. I set my mouth to her shoulder like gratitude is a kind of appetite. And we stopped when stopping meant that tomorrow would be hungry to see us again. Last night, while we pretended spaghetti can cure a week, HarborWorks sent a final little confession. "We've renamed conference room Gull," it wrote. "It's now called Daylight." Sasha raised her glass of tap water and clinked mine like we'd won anything worth nomming. "We tuned it," she said softly. I don't know what becomes of all the data our lives throw out like confetti. I know we've learned to pick up the pieces that have our names on them and hand them, clean, to each other first. I know the ugly lamp has started looking like an altar, and I am not embarrassed about that. I know the basil will die again in 2 weeks and we will forgive it. This morning, my phone suggested I create my own automation. "When I arrive home," it offered, "turn on kitchen warm, play something without words, send here to Sasha." I pressed yes sign the way you commit to a ritual because you want the house to remember too. When I came in tonight, the bulbs put their shoulders down and the music made room and the text left with the quiet grammar we've earned. Here I wrote and she replied, "Begin." We did. And if HarborWorks ever needs to know what we bring to a room that isn't theirs, they can read the rule taped crooked to our fridge, written in her careful hand. If the world wants us after hours, it can wait. We collect ourselves in the kitchen first, where the only guest pass required is the one we write on each other's mouths.